This is the most standard ocean in Minecraft, and this is me with a fishing rod in hand on a raft that will become my home for the next 100 days. To survive, I'll have to catch starter items and food. I'll focus on building starter farms to ensure I have all the necessary blocks to build my own house. In this ocean, besides fish, stingrays, and crabs, there's something much scarier. Every day, I'll have to fight for my life and escape from these bloodthirsty piranhas and sharks, but I'm not so simple, and even they won't be able to stop me from turning this small raft made of tropical wood into this. So if you want to see the story of my progress, stick with me and I'll tell you everything. Day 1, I spawned in the ocean. Luckily, I have a small raft made of only 9 tropical wood planks. This is where I will spend the next 100 days. A minute later, I spot some floating blocks and immediately try to catch them with my fishing rod. This is how I'll gather my first resource. I try to cast my rod as far as possible to catch a leaf block, but it doesn't quite work. However, I do manage to catch the second block, which is a little closer. Without thinking much, I decide to dive underwater to see what's there, but as it turns out, they're not too happy to see me, and a piranha immediately tries to eat me. This is how the raft becomes my only protection. Although it's a tropical sea, it's quite dangerous. There are many different sea creatures here, such as sharks, rays, crabs, whales, and piranhas. But it's only in the reef waters where piranhas live, and they will be a constant problem throughout this survival. After a few minutes, I managed to catch my first barrel, and it's a very valuable find because it contains some useful resources and my first food. From sticks and coal, I made my first torches for lighting. I also crafted a boat to explore a bit and scout the area, but it was immediately eaten by a piranha, so my sailing didn't last long. I quickly climbed as high as I could because when night came, there were more of those little toothy creatures. Once the danger passed, I decided to dive underwater again and noticed a rather unusual fish. I don't know what it is yet. Day 2. With the dawn, I caught another barrel, and inside were my first oak and birch saplings. This means I'll soon have the chance to get a lot of wood. I added a few leaf blocks to my raft to reach the furthest blocks. It's time to plant some tree saplings because I have no blocks left, and the raft is getting pretty cramped. I also tilled some soil and planted my first seeds. At night, I dived underwater and observed new fish species I had never seen before. From the strings I fished out of the sea, I made wool blocks and my first bed. Now I have a chance to rest a little. Day 3. In the morning, a piranha attacked me and began destroying my garden and tree farm. From the new leaves, I built a path in the opposite direction. This way, I'll have more chances to catch valuable blocks. Underwater, I noticed a very beautiful stingray. I was so curious that I decided to swim with it. In a new barrel, I found acacia saplings and a few more blocks of soil, which are very valuable to me right now. This is how my raft looks at the moment. I've set up a small storage with barrels, and my first tree has grown. At night, piranhas returned, but this time I had a stone sword, and fighting them became easier. By the way, they drop some delicious meat that can be roasted in the furnace and eaten. I also make sure to catch blocks in the ocean and increase the number of resources in my barrels. There are so many now that it would be a good idea to make a few chests. Day 4, I rearranged my work area and moved it to the right. I spent the whole day catching blocks and barrels, as well as chopping trees and collecting saplings to plant even more trees. Day 5, I removed old blocks of soil to place them in a new spot. It's time to start building a tree farm. I'm using half slabs to save space, and I'm placing soil every 3 blocks. After a few minutes, first 2 rows were ready, but this is clearly not enough. Also, I took roasted potatoes from the furnace to snack and gain some strength. A strange large fish swam up to my farm to see what I was up to. In the new barrels I caught today, I found 2 new saplings. With the remaining soil, I expanded my garden and collected some potatoes. Day 6. I'm carefully watching all the trees, and as soon as they grow, I go to chop them down. I need material for building a full-fledged platform because saplings are constantly falling into the water, and it's not very convenient. Also, another barrel with useful resources floated up to my raft. When I dived underwater, I noticed Dory. I think everyone knows this fish. By noon, my first spruce tree had grown, and it was very important to collect as many saplings from it as possible, because growing large trees will be much easier and faster. With the new blocks of wood, I created half slabs and expanded my platform. I planted 4 spruce saplings on the soil separately, a few blocks apart. By night, my raft had become quite large, and the only thing I really need now is a lot of building blocks. Day 7. I took my boat to explore the ocean, hoping to find land, but suddenly I was in for a surprise. With each passing moment, more and more piranhas appeared, and now this huge school is chasing my boat, hoping to eat me. I had no choice but to return to the raft and fight them off, because they were even jumping on land. But after a minute, I realized this was actually a good thing and made my survival easier. I checked another barrel, and it had the same familiar resources, although sometimes there are blocks of soil in them, which I really need right now to expand my farm and garden. Day 8. I continued to run around the raft and chop trees. After a few minutes, I completed my platform, and I think this size of the tree farm will suit me just fine. On the sandy bottom, I spotted a crab, but I'm not sure what to do with it yet. And just as I was watching, my first large tree on this raft grew. This is great because I need materials to expand my territory. Without hesitation, I immediately began chopping down the spruce with my stone axe. At night, I happened to notice a shark underwater. It's a bit strange because they don't live in coral reefs, though maybe it just swam here by accident. Day 9. I decided to try again to find land. I swam further and entered the open sea, and this is where it happened. There were more and more of them, and now this huge swarm is chasing me, and if I stop for even a second, I won't survive. Luckily, the boat is faster, and I quickly thought about what to do next. Just look at their huge white teeth. After a few minutes, I entered the open, deep ocean, where the water became darker and darker. I had to act very quickly because I only had one chance to escape. Most of the piranhas ended up on land, and I managed to climb as high as I could to save myself. Now, very carefully, I need to deal with them while on these blocks. Everything worked out and I survived. Day 10. I realized I needed sand, so I crafted a few doors and went to the ocean floor. The doors allow me to breathe underwater and also help me gather sand faster. Some of the sand floats to the surface and I don't want to leave it here. I noticed that when I'm inside the door, piranhas don't notice me, and that's a huge advantage. As night fell, I admired the sunset. Underwater, it looks pretty unusual. At night, I went to find a new place to gather more sand. Slowly but surely, progress was being made, and my first shovel broke. Day 11. While I was away, a whole forest has grown on my raft. I gathered some resources, and it would be good to start decorating my raft. I broke 9 wooden planks, which were the starting point of my survival. Instead of them, I began building a small circle using half blocks. I took glass from the furnaces and began making a path inside the half blocks. I think walking on glass will be very unusual and beautiful. I started surrounding the outer part with a fence, hoping it would protect me from the piranhas. Meanwhile, another large spruce tree grew, and it would be good to cut it down. I spent the rest of the night gathering spruce logs. Day 12. I fenced off the tree farm platform with spruce fences because recently the piranhas have been a huge nuisance. I went 8 blocks up and started building paths with half blocks to prevent large oaks from growing. Once everything was ready, I placed half blocks every 3 blocks. I connected a small path to the tree farm that I'll need soon. Day 13. My chests are gradually filling up and I already have quite a lot of survival resources, but it would still be good to secure bone meal and gunpowder. For this, I started building a mob farm. I went up to survey my raft, and here's what it looks like so far. First, I need to build 4 glass pillars. At the very top, I added 8 blocks to each side, but it turned out I didn't have enough resources to build everything, so I need to gather more. The tube where monsters will fall will be made of spruce half blocks. I alternated them and went higher, adding barriers to the platform. Day 14. I spread water in the right places, so when monsters fall, the current will carry them into the center. I raised the finished structure by 1 block and started building the main platform where the mobs will spawn. To make them walk to the center, I placed and closed the trapdoors at the necessary places. This way, the mobs will think they're walking on solid blocks and will keep moving forward. After a minute, I began building the walls, but I ran out of spruce planks, so it would be a good idea to expand my spruce farm. This is what my mob farm looks like, but I still need to finish the roof. Day 15. Another large tree grew, and it needs to be cut down. Yes, I know, there will be a lot of wood in this video. I'd say there will be an excessive amount because, for now, it's my only source of resources. And building with it isn't so bad. Before I could come down, the second spruce tree had already grown. I had to climb up using planks to finish the farm. Of course, the roof is made from half blocks. It's economical and will prevent monsters from spawning above. Everything seems ready, and I see the first rotten flesh. Day 16. This day began my first storm, but I think I already have a good chance of surviving. By the way, I still don't understand why there's no rain. I made a very tall pillar from spruce blocks so I can wait for monsters to appear. For the time being, I reduced the fall height to ensure everyone stays alive, and I can find the right zombie villager. Oh, I didn't tell you, I got the idea of getting my first villagers on the raft. That's why I built the mob farm, to have a chance to find a couple of zombie villagers. After the first wave of monsters, I climbed up to wait. Day 17. I checked the number of monsters, and there weren't many. For some reason, I decided to replace the water with stairs, but it didn't work out too well. The stairs were supposed to block the water source, but that didn't happen. From this height, I decided to survey the area, and except for a few unknown sandstone blocks in the distance, I didn't find anything else. After coming down, I found my first zombie villager, which was a success. But the success didn't last long because a skeleton spotted me and killed the zombie with an arrow. I also realized I was running out of food, so I created an improvised garden with a few potato beds. I used bone meal to grow more potatoes. Day 18. Once again, I'm up high, and I must say that monsters appear very rarely, but it's still not bad. On the platform, I was surprised. Somehow, one of the creepers climbed out and exploded. Only my resources in the barrels were damaged. I carefully checked all the monsters for a zombie villager, but none appeared. In the evening, when I was below, I spotted a witch. She's also very important to me. In this world, there's nothing. I can't brew weakness potions, so I'll have to use the witch's services. Very carefully, I put her in a boat, and she will wait for her time. I spent the rest of the night on the waiting platform. Day 19. My search continues, and for now, I have to kill all the useless monsters. I spent the whole day and night doing this. Day 20. Another group of monsters killed, and nothing new. I started making a small path from the farm to the waiting pillar because the piranhas keep getting in my way down below. At night, I finally saw the zombie villager I was looking for. I very carefully killed all the unnecessary monsters by hand. I managed to save the future villager, and I put him in the boat. Day 21. The witch clearly didn't like my idea, and she started throwing potions at me. After parking the zombie next to her, a creeper exploded in front of my eyes. inches, but everyone survived. I created a shield using wood and iron because survival is becoming more dangerous. I dove to the bottom of the ocean and started digging down to create my first mine. I built a tree farm and a mob farm, so now I need to think about my safety and start looking for diamonds to create armor and improve tools. I'm playing on version 1.16.5, so after digging down to height 7, I started making a long tunnel to search for useful ores. To my surprise, just a few minutes later, I found my first batch of diamonds. Day 22. In the tunnel, I came across a lava lake, which was a great opportunity to collect some in a bucket. At that moment, I had the idea of creating a cobblestone generator, but I later abandoned this plan. Besides diamonds, I really need iron and gold ores to create a golden apple for healing villagers. As night fell, I returned to my raft, and the digging was quite productive. Day 23. I harvested some potatoes because it's the only reliable food I have for now. Although I have all kinds of sea produce, I have no desire to fish or hunt piranhas. By midday, I started crafting diamond armor. From this point, my survival will be a little safer, but only time will tell if I can finish it. I have big plans for this raft, and I'll try to realize them slowly. I now have a diamond pickaxe, and for some reason, I wanted to explore the Nether, but for that, I need obsidian. While walking on the land, I accidentally found an abandoned mine, and in it, I found an enderman. Without thinking twice, I put it in a boat and killed it. Ender pearls will also be very important for finding the portal to the end world. While running around the abandoned mine, I came across a spider spawner. After lighting up the room, I found watermelon and beetroot seeds in chests. I returned to the lava lake and poured water on it to collect some obsidian blocks. Day 24. I also started collecting gravel to find flint for crafting flint and steel. I built and activated a portal at my tree farm. Upon entering the completely new world, I was greeted not so friendly. It's hard to say what these flying creatures are. After arriving in a crimson biome, I found some completely new creatures, some red and yellow mushrooms, as well as very angry nether dogs. Fortunately, they were all stuck in a hole. Day 25. I found a baby ghast, and after killing it, I obtained a ghast tear. After a few minutes, I came across a warped forest biome, which is exactly what I needed. Endermen spawn here, and I need them for collecting pearls, but before getting to them, I had to face the nether dogs again, and at that moment, the shield was very useful for protection. This biome also has many blue mushrooms, which turned out to explode. To survive, I had to hide in a tree, but I still couldn't find any endermen. I also saw some flying red jellyfish, which didn't inspire much confidence. In short, it's a very creepy and dangerous place, but I need to find the endermen. Unfortunately, I didn't manage to do that. Maybe in this version of the game, they don't spawn in these biomes. Day 26. On my way home, I came across a nether fortress and some strange creature resembling a spider. I spent the entire day and night searching for my portal to return home for food. Day 27. As it turned out, I was once again having food problems, so I used some bone meal to speed up the growth of my potatoes. With my new supplies, I could return to the Nether to search for Blaze. On the way, I found a ruined portal and a golden carrot and apple in a chest. This is quite good, as it will save me some gold. After finding the right spawner, I dug down and tried very carefully to get blaze rods. By morning, I had succeeded, and it was time to head home. Day 28. I created blaze powder and the first eye of Ender. It was time to set off in search of the portal, but this is something I couldn't have expected. When I tried to throw the eye of Ender, it just stayed in my hand. I spent a long time trying to figure out what was wrong, and it turned out there simply isn't a portal in this world. When there's no portal nearby, the eye doesn't work. I was definitely not prepared for this turn of events. I needed to gather bookshelf materials for an enchanting table in the fortress, but now I had to come up with something else. I immediately remembered that I could get books from piglins, so I searched through all my chests and took the gold ingots. Day 29. I found my first test subject and started trading with it. To create the enchanting table, I only needed needed 2 books. I tried for a long time to get them, but the piglin apparently didn't want to let me go that easily and decided to take all my gold. With the second piglin, I also didn't have any luck, and I wasted all my gold for nothing. That night, I returned home and once again tried to explore this strange structure. I quickly found a chest, but it only contained coal and a fishing rod. Without hesitation, I swam to a sunken ship, and piranhas immediately attacked me, but with golden armor, they weren't as dangerous. In the first chest, I found quite a bit of paper. In the last one, there were several books, which I really needed. In the morning, I returned home and took a look at what my raft looked like now. Day 30. The mission to collect books was completed, and it was time to return to healing the first villager. I got very close to the witch, so she would start throwing potions. One of them should be weakness. After a few tries, I managed to get the right effect and immediately gave the zombie a golden apple. After that, I took him away to make sure nothing happened to him. Returning to the mob farm, I got a new achievement, which means everything went well, but 1 villager isn't enough, and I need to find another one for breeding. I also noticed that the first villager was sitting oddly in the boat, and he was missing his legs. But hey, it's Minecraft, so there's nothing to be surprised about. Occasionally, I fish out barrels from the ocean in the hopes of getting something valuable. Day 31. The piranhas are evolving and are already trying to jump onto my platform. A few more days and they will learn to walk. After a creeper explosion, I had to repair the farm, but by lunchtime, I had a pleasant surprise. I found another zombie villager. I put him in a boat and parked him near the witch. She immediately threw the potion I needed on the first try. I crafted a new axe from diamonds because I need to seriously start chopping trees to build my house. By this time, all the spruce trees had grown, and I spent the rest of the night cutting them down. Day 32. I broke the wall between the villagers and connected them. I made a bookshelf from the books, as well as the first lectern as a profession block. I will have an archer and a librarian. At first, these are perfect villagers. I bought bookshelves from the librarian for 3 emeralds, and now the problem of finding books is finally solved. In the new barrel I caught, I found a few blocks of dirt, which I don't have much of. Day 33. After the storm, a small rainbow appeared at dawn. I had to craft sticks from the wood I gathered earlier and sell them to the archer. Before building my house, I'd like to seriously upgrade my tools and armor to make survival more comfortable. I also crafted wool blocks and a few beds from the strings. They are needed for the villagers to breed. Apparently, one of them was definitely happy with this prospect. I crafted an enchantment table from obsidian, diamonds, and books. I placed it at the tree farm since there's enough space here. It's a bit cramped, but I have more important things to do now. I enchanted my axe and pickaxe with unbreaking and efficiency 4. I also shouldn't forget about the shovel, which will be really useful for gathering sand. Day 34. Since we're talking about sand, I decided to gather some. After a few minutes, I had to swim to the surface to gather the remaining sand, but I quickly realized this wasn't very comfortable, so I crafted a brewing stand and started brewing my first underwater breathing potions. Now I don't have to swim to the door to get air. I can freely move along the sandy bottom and gather sand blocks. By morning, I crafted an anvil and combined 2 shovels into 1. Day 35. It turns out I can trade books with the librarian for emeralds, even without having the specific enchanted book. Under my raft, I killed a few piranhas, so they wouldn't interfere with the sand collection. I spent the entire day on this task, and in the evening, when I returned to the raft, I started building a small automatic furnace. It will help smelt all the sand into glass without much effort, and I need a lot of glass. Day 36. I gave the villagers some food, and they started to breed, but they weren't successful. I've got a few beds and profession blocks, but I'll come back to this later. Right now, I need to focus on cutting down big spruce trees and gathering resources to build my house. At lunchtime, I moved the villagers' beds and added a few composters. villagers, but the food situation is still a problem, as they clearly have too little. I replaced the spruce saplings with tropical tree saplings, which are also great for building. At night, while wandering through a mine, I found a decent amount of dirt. I spent the rest of the night looking for diamonds and other useful resources. Day 37. By this time, a small portion of the sand had smelted, but I still need a lot of iron ingots. With the help of diamonds, I repaired my armor, which had been taking damage after encounters with piranhas. I crafted hoppers and added them to the mob farm to make it fully automatic. It actually works very slowly, but at least it'll bring in some resources. I fixed the half-slab pipe and it's ready to work again. After that, I removed the ladder underwater and demolished the whole pillar, which I no longer need. Day 38. I watched a yellow fish and had an idea to make a small aquarium, but that's still a long way off. I started collecting tropical wood logs. By evening, I planted the second batch of saplings and accelerated their growth with bone meal. Day 39. Using my Fortune 3 shovel, I gathered carrots and gave them to the villagers. A minute later, I had my first baby villager, and the librarian was clearly happy about it. I stored the logs in a separate chest. Day 40. I crafted a new batch of half slabs from spruce to build the platform. After diving down, I placed columns as the frame for my house. Of course, I'm not alone here, and the piranhas are making it difficult. I immediately connected the first few columns with blocks. I carefully counted the blocks and planned how the building would look. The main frame is already ready, but it needs to be expanded. The interior will be filled with half slabs. I added a back wall to create more storage space for resources. Day 41, I admired the sunrise and continued covering the floor with half slabs. After that, I had to increase each column by 6 blocks. It would be good to remove the bark to give a new texture to these logs. I tried to do the same thing underwater. The structure looks like this at the bottom. As night fell, I lit up the platform because the first spiders began to appear. I went up and connected the columns with spruce logs. I climbed a tropical tree to survey the whole structure and think about how to turn it into a house. Day 42. To take a break from the routine and chopping trees, I decided to swim a bit and catch some fish. The idea of the aquarium really appealed to me, and to implement it, I need to catch some beautiful tropical creatures. I spotted Dory and decided to catch her first. After that, I hunted for yellow fish, which were very quick and hard to catch. I stored my catch in a separate chest. After a short rest, I went back to chopping spruce trees. In addition, I gathered some crops for myself and the villagers. Day 43. While the tree saplings were growing, I went hunting for trop fish. At that moment, I nearly lost my life. The piranhas were waiting for the chance to devour me. I found the third blue fish, and this was the one I wanted to catch the most. As evening fell, all 4 large trees had grown, and I could start chopping them down. As I mentioned, there would be a lot of wood in this video, although this is just a small portion of it. After getting back to the columns, I continued building the frame of my house. The structure looks like this at the moment. Day 44. I placed both spruce and tropical wood planks to decide which one looks better. I chose the latter. First, I built the walls near the entrance, then on the side. I used planks only for the outer frame since most of the wall will be made of glass. When everything was ready, I created glass panes and added them as windows. That's when I realized I really need acacia wood. I have to cut down the current oak and replace it with acacia saplings. At night, I went to the Nether to look for bone blocks. They are a very fast and excellent source of bone meal. I also found a very strange skeleton. This world is quite unusual, and there are many weird things to discover. Day 45. When I returned home, I used bone meal to speed up the saplings' growth and gathered wood. I climbed up and started making the base for the future roof from half slabs. I'm raising it higher and higher every 2 blocks. It looks pretty good, but to finish the roof, I need more acacia wood. At night, creepers came to check out my house. Day 46. One floor clearly won't be enough, so why not build another? I I raise the columns by a few blocks in the necessary place. In the front part of the house, I create a floor on the balcony. On the second floor, I build walls out of tropical wood. Once the foundation is ready, I continue constructing the roof with acacia slabs. The second level is finished, and so far, I really like it. From the outside, the house doesn't look like much yet, but I'll fix that soon. Day 47. On the left side of the house, I finish the highest roof, this time dropping every 2 blocks, lower and lower. There's a hole under the roof that needs to be filled with slabs urgently. The frame is ready on both sides, and I just need to connect them. I climb inside the house and begin constructing the floor on the second floor, but then I realize I want to make it out of spruce planks. Suddenly, I get a strange achievement. It's probably related to breaking a large number of blocks. I try to make a simple staircase to the second floor, and suddenly I notice I'm wearing a skeleton's head. I got it from killing those strange skeleton-headed spiders. Day 48. I found a cave with a large amount of iron ore. I need lanterns for my house, so I went in search of iron. When I returned home, I threw the mined blocks into my automatic furnace and also started gathering acacia wood to diversify my house a bit. Day 49. As it turns out, my diamond armor is completely broken thanks to those toothy piranhas. I made a second set of armor, but I realized I need experience. To replenish my supply, I went to the Nether to look for quartz ore. It's a quick way to get the amount I need. As you remember, the mob farm is not very effective, and I'm not really interested in building an experience farm. Day 50. I had to spend experience on another pickaxe, but with the leftover, I managed to improve my armor a bit. In the anvil, I combined the new and old broken pickaxes. During my adventures, the spruce trees grew, and of course, I can't leave them unattended. I replaced them with tropical trees, but now to gather leaves. I'll need leaves solely for decorative purposes, to add a little variety to my wooden structures. To make it faster and easier, I'm growing small trees and collecting the necessary blocks. Day 51. The leaf gathering continues. I must also remember the piranhas, who love to interfere with me. At the base of the house's frame, I add acacia stairs. But doing the same in the back is not as easy. I added tropical wood trapdoors to the windows, and it looks quite nice. Between each stair and the roof, I placed some leaf blocks. I fenced off the pier area so the piranhas have no chance of getting in. In some places, I added acacia slabs. It got very dark, so it's a perfect time to light up my house. I placed lanterns under the roof and at the base of the balcony. I also added some decorations on the first floor walls for variety. Day 52. Here's the interim result of the work done. During all the time I've spent gathering resources and building, I ran out of food, and it would be nice to replenish my supply. I removed the floor near the terrace to soon replace it with glass. All the paths on my raft will be made of glass and fenced in. Instead of the previously placed torches, I install lanterns. By evening, my house is fully ready. Half of the survival is behind, but there's still a lot of work ahead. It's time to set up my storage inside and move all the resources. I break the barrels, and all the resources from them go into my inventory. Day 53. I take another look at my house to see if I like it entirely. In the right part, I set up a little corner for an enchantment table. I start moving the auto furnace closer to my new storage. Most of the resources have been moved, and there's just a little left. I try to sort all the wooden elements into a separate chest so I'll have some order. I get rid of the unnecessary cobblestone and leaf blocks, leaving only the central platform with my house and farms. Day 54. The wood gathering continues. Climbing a tree, I survey the area and plan the future placement of new farms and houses for the villagers. Suddenly, I realize it's time to tear down this farm for large trees. It seems too small, and I need to expand it significantly. Day 55. Using all the available iron, I made buckets. I also moved the portal from the tree farm to my house under the staircase. Once in the Nether, I found a small lake and collected lava, which will serve as a great fuel source. Before building a new tree farm, I need to replenish my sand supplies, and this time I need much more because the entire floor of the future area will be made of glass. 5 minutes later, while swimming underwater, I gather the leftover blocks. Day 56. By lunchtime, I returned home and sent the first batch of sand to smelt. I decided to make a pillar for a lookout so I can see my raft from above as it changes. I mark the boundaries for the future tree farm. It's time to start building its frame. I place slabs randomly, and surprisingly, the piranhas don't bother me too much. Day 57. The left part of the foundation is ready. It looks quite unusual. I count the blocks to make an identical area on the right, but this time I couldn't avoid the piranhas. The construction was incredibly uncomfortable. Every 4 blocks of glass, I place 4 blocks of dirt for large trees. Unexpectedly, I earn another achievement in this survival. By evening, most of the platform was built. I met a zombie apparently. It really liked the farm. I fenced off the outer part. Day 58. I just need to fill the empty area with glass blocks. Of course, it's very inefficient, and I could have used other blocks for the platform, but it looks unusual. Meanwhile, my first spruce tree has grown, and in a few minutes there were several. I climbed to the lookout, and these trees look quite impressive. As night fell, I tried to work on building the left part for growing tropical trees. Day 59. The party with the piranhas continues, and even my armor can't save me. This bunch of fish has been hunting me since the beginning of my survival on this raft. I had to go into the mine, find diamonds, because my armor was completely destroyed. At night, I came across a zombie spawner and got the idea to gather some experience from them. Day 60. I quickly gave up on that idea because it's incredibly slow. Not far from there, I found an old mine and collected all the spider webs. I'll need them to make beds and get as many villagers as possible for my village. I enchanted my 3rd new set of armor, though with any enchantments, but I think you understand that it's pointless. At night, I continued working on the tropical tree farm, and I noticed that there are significantly fewer piranhas at night. Maybe they're sleeping, but there were none around, so I could continue building. Day 61. In the morning, uninvited guests appeared in my house. The creeper wasn't fond of the house design and successfully decided to blow it up. I didn't like it either, so I had to spend some time repairing the damage. The furnaces ran out of fuel, so I need to go back to the Nether to search for lava. Day 62. I have 2 large tree farms, but I planned to build a platform for acacia trees as well. For that, I need to gather as many saplings as possible. With these side platforms, my raft has expanded significantly. By the time I was building the 3rd section of the farm, my old friends came back, which slowed down the process a bit. By evening, the frame was completely ready, and the area for planting acacias was quite large. As soon as the sun set, the piranhas disappeared instantly. Every 4 blocks of glass, I place 1 block of dirt. This area will be designed to plant over 7 trees at once. Day 63. My underwater breathing potion ran out, so I need to replenish it. All the previously obtained glass went into the 2 side platforms, so I have to go back to explore the ocean floor. But first, I plant the acacia saplings so they can grow before I return. Unexpectedly, my old piranha friend returned. It didn't bother me at all, and I might call it Toothy. But after a minute, Toothy was joined by a friend who wasn't as friendly. Day 64. I made an improvised garden near my storage and started growing potatoes. Layer by layer, block by block, I'm digging sand, and some of it is falling into my inventory. Day 65. I managed to clear quite a large area of sand. By noon, Toothy brought some new friends, and I had to quickly flee to my raft. Day 66. On the tropical tree farm, I removed a few blocks of dirt near my house because it was obstructing the growth of the trees. I collected leaves for future use. Meanwhile, while all the sand is smelting, I decided to chop a few trees. By evening, all the acacia trees had grown, and I need to replenish my sapling supplies. Under the moonlight and stars, I continued building the glass platform. Day 67. Half of the work is done, but of course, the piranhas haven't disappeared. By evening, the platform was almost ready, and there was just a tiny piece left that I ran out of glass to finish. After a while, there will be a full forest behind my house, and I can confidently say that I will have plenty of wood for the rest of this survival. I added lanterns to the fence for lighting. Day 68. The last few blocks and the platform was completely finished. This is how my raft looks now with the additional farms. When I visited the mob farm, I found some resources in the chest that might be useful. A few piranhas somehow jumped onto my raft and said their goodbyes. After dark, my house looks more impressive, but I don't have time to sleep because I need to gather resources for building my own village. Day 69. I began marking the roads that will lead to the houses of my villagers. I killed the first group of piranhas, but that won't solve the problem. I am building platforms on both sides for the first two houses. I am constructing a road from the center of my raft in both directions, where the bigger houses will be. I started by building the outer part to determine what area I can allocate for the village, and as soon as night fell, the piranhas magically disappeared, so it was a great time to speed up and finish the marking. Day 70. This is how my village will look. 4 small houses and 2 large houses in the center of the raft. I also need to figure out where I'll plant crops. I selected a great spot near my house. Carefully moving between blocks, I connected my house to the side platforms for the villagers. Day 71. To breed villagers, I need a lot of food. And to get a lot of food, I need a very large garden and a considerable amount of soil. Luckily, soil can be found underground. For this purpose, I went down into the mine. The work is progressing very slowly, and I spent the entire day and night on this task. Day 72. I managed to find several stacks of dirt, and now I can start building the garden. For that, I need to fill the entire inner part with dirt. By noon, the first platform on the right was ready. I quickly moved to the left side, hoping the piranhas wouldn't notice me. Every 4 blocks, I made holes for water. I took empty buckets from the furnaces and started spreading water, then covered it with slabs to make walking easier. Additionally, I placed lanterns on every block so the crops could grow at night without sunlight. The next step is to till the soil. Meanwhile, some uninvited guests appeared on my second garden. One of the piranhas jumped onto my raft and trampled all my crops. Day 73. I fenced the outer part to prevent any more unpleasant incidents. I spent the rest of the day and night smelting glass and crafting the necessary resources. Day 74. I planted potatoes on the left side. I didn't have much, so I accelerated its growth using bone meal to harvest and replant all the crops. This is how my raft has changed and expanded in size. While I'm busy with my tasks, the crops will ripen. I started jumping on blocks above the old oak farm and breaking them. By evening, I started cutting acacia trees because I had the least of them, but suddenly another creeper exploded and ruined the appearance of my raft. Day 75. I gathered more than a stack of saplings from all the trees and needed to plant them on dirt blocks. After collecting all the logs I had, I started crafting the necessary blocks to begin building the first house for my villagers. But first, I needed to fill in the pre-marked platform from the inside. I decided to do this for all the platforms. On the smallest one, I built a frame out of spruce logs and added a few logs on the side. However, after building the first wall, I realized I had made a mistake with the height of first floor and needed to raise it by 1 block. Meanwhile, monsters are actively appearing in my house. I added a few columns on the roof of the second floor and started building the walls. Day 76. Admiring the sunrise over this endless ocean from my raft, I begin building the roof on the side of the second floor. It will be a small house, very similar to mine. That's why the roof will be exactly the same, with only a few minor changes. The villagers will also have their own balcony, with the opportunity to step outside and admire the sunrise. At the base of the first floor, I add acacia slabs. Once I reach the foundation, I place stairs upside down. Suddenly, a storm begins, though I think at this stage of survival, it's not too scary, especially since it's a tropical ocean with no rain. I add foliage between the columns to decorate the structure. I killed a creeper that somehow appeared on my raft. Lastly, I install windows and stairs leading to the second floor. In no time, the first house for the villagers is ready for occupancy, but to move them in, I need to completely furnish the entire village. Day 77. I inspect the raft, and everything is going according to my plan. Next on the list is a building right next to the first house. While building the frame, piranhas below are actively learning to jump, or perhaps even fly. I remove the bark from the logs. I work on building the walls and immediately make space for doors. Meanwhile, my potatoes have fully ripened, and it's a great reason to harvest them. The harvest is collected in the best traditions, using a shovel. Why not? It's my first and last tool with Fortune 3, though I must admit using the shovel is quite inconvenient because the dirt blocks often break and I have to fish them out from the water. After collecting the harvest, my inventory is full and I have to put some of the potatoes back in their rightful place. Day 78. I gave the rest of the harvest to the villagers and they immediately started breeding and multiplying in the best Minecraft traditions. To ensure their population continues to grow without issues, I created and added new composters and beds. The right side with the food farm remains empty, so I urgently need to plant it. To do this, I need to increase my carrot stock on this mini garden in my house. A small part of the land is planted and I just need to wait for it to fully mature. In the evening, I return to building the second house for the villagers. It will have a second floor with a balcony, just like the first building. I quickly add the walls and start working on the roof made of acacia slabs. The entrance to the balcony is decorated with foliage and stairs. The piranhas didn't like my building and they bit me again. Once I reached the second floor, I carefully added the slabs. Day 79. Inside the room, I add foliage. I go out to the balcony to inspect the overall view of all the buildings. By lunchtime, the first 2 houses for the villagers are fully ready. However, I used up all the spruce wood, so in the evening, I set out to gather more. My garden has grown quite a few trees, and I planned to cut them all down. I spent the whole day and night doing this. Day 80. By the morning of this day, half of the trees were gone. I managed to collect 14 stacks of spruce logs, but there are still 4 tall trees left. I spot an iron golem among the villagers, which is a great opportunity to get a few iron ingots. Next on the list are the tropical trees. My buildings require a lot of resources, and apart from the trees, there's nothing else on the raft. I could gather stone and sandstone, but the wood was enough for now. At night, I see a dancing zombie in my garden, and it's not the first one in this survival. Day 81. From the chest with all my wood supplies, I gather logs. This amount won't last long, but for now, I can continue building the village. Next, I'll focus on 2 houses near the potato farm, I quickly built the frame and walls with windows on the first floor. In the evening, I worked on the roof. Just as I almost forgot about the dancing zombie, I notice a dancing golem. There's definitely something off with this survival. Perhaps all the living creatures just get seasick during the storm. I can't think of any other explanation for this behavior. Meanwhile, I proceed with decorating the exterior of the house. Day 82. I found a fisherman among the villagers who buys crab meat. It's quite a delicacy, and I could even create a crab farm, but unfortunately, there's little time left. By the way, I also slightly varied the large trees, and now the tropical tree will grow on each side of my house. The first batch of carrots is ripe, so I need to gather them quickly. I try to be very careful, but still, a few blocks of dirt get broken. This time, all the beds are fully planted. I sold part of the harvest to a villager and used the emeralds to buy bookshelves from the librarian. I broke them to get regular books and exchanged them for enchanted books. I immediately updated them to get more regular books. I know this seems strange, but I need to level up the librarian to the highest level so I can buy name tags from him. As you can see, he's quite happy with this development. My work on fertile land continues, and this time I sell potatoes to the farmers. By morning, I light up the new house for the villagers with lanterns. Day 83. I also add lanterns inside the rooms on both the first and second floors. From the farmer, I buy a few compasses, and in a minute, I can get name tags. I need them for the fish in my aquarium if I manage to build it. I look over my raft and think it has undergone a radical transformation, though only half of the village is built. I gather wood from the new chest outside and prepare to start the fourth house. As usual, I begin with frame. It's the easiest and quickest method. Next, I move on to the walls made from trop wood, cutting out spaces for the future windows to save time. This house will be the smallest, with just one floor. Once I reach the top, I build the roof, and in this case, it will cover the entire structure. While swimming in the ocean, one of the piranhas completely broke my armor. To make things worse, a drowned also arrived. Day 84. I craft iron armor. This is probably the first time in all my survivals that after using diamond armor, I end up with iron. But then I suddenly remember the diamonds I found earlier and quickly fix the situation. With my new armor, the piranhas are no longer a threat, though I'll be honest, they really tested my nerves throughout this survival. By lunchtime, I decorate the house with foliage and lanterns. I then remember that I really need emeralds and name tags, so I head off to gather wood. I haven't gathered this much wood in any of my survivals before, but if you look at the changes on my raft now, you can tell it's all worth it. Using acacia planks, I craft pressure plates to ensure the safety of my village. The thing is, monsters appear on the roofs every night, and they could easily kill me and my villagers. Of course, I could light up the roof with torches, but that wouldn't look as nice. But if I cover the full blocks with plates, it won't be noticeable and will keep unwanted guests from appearing. After heading down, I update the tree saplings and alternate them. Once the roof of my house is completely covered with plates, I move to the neighboring house and do the same. Day 85. I add a few new profession blocks for the villagers to get new archers to sell sticks. Name tags are expensive, and I need a lot of them, so I have to part with some of my wood supplies. I store the name tags with the emeralds and tropical fish. The last two biggest houses are still on my to-do list, but before I build them, I adjust and reduce the foundation since it was too close to the neighboring house. I start building the second frame from the inside, and of course the piranhas are keeping a close watch. I add logs on the sides as supports and remove the bark from the logs. This house will have two separate entrances and exits that will connect the neighboring house and the center of my raft. The stairs to the second floor are made from acacia. Day 86. I work on building the second floor, which will have a spacious balcony. The roof in this case will be flatter and not as high to save blocks. Swimming in the ocean at the base of the building, I add stairs. Once I reached the top, I finished the exterior with acacia slabs. As usual, my pets are closely observing the process. I surround the path leading from the center of my raft to the largest house with a fence. Inside the room on the first floor, I add foliage. At night, I head off to chop acacia. During this time, all the trees grew back. Day 87. I repair my shovel using the last of my diamonds. My village is almost complete, but I still want to build a large viewing aquarium. So, I find the last pufferfish in my chest and brew 3 more potions of underwater breathing. I head to the familiar spot for gathering sand, and with each trip, the bottom gets cleaner and cleaner. Unfortunately, that night, I couldn't find my pet, and perhaps it never returned. Day 88. By lunchtime, I returned home and sent the first batch of sand to smelt. While I'm working on the last house, it will turn into glass. I also crafted sticks from my wood stock and sold them to the priests. In the evening, I check on the crops because you can never have too many sticks or potatoes, and for the first time in this survival, phantoms appeared on my raft. Day 89. Trading with the villagers continues actively, and I managed to get a few new name tags. I begin building the last house for my villagers. By this point, their population has significantly increased, and each of them needs proper living conditions on this raft. I head to the second floor and start building the floor. The moment I step away for resources, new animals take residence in this house. Day 90. On the second floor, I install windows. I craft doors from tropical wood and gates as well. The doors are installed in each house, and the gates are needed to keep the villagers away my crops and homes. Using the leftover acacia, I make as many pressure plates as I can and head to the roof to secure them from monster appearances. Honestly, it only just occurred to me that using plates is incredibly inefficient, but buttons wouldn't look as nice. By night, every roof is secure from unwanted mobs. This is how my village looks at night, but I still have a few ideas for improving this raft before I finish survival. Day 91. Using profession blocks, I'm trying to move the villagers to their new homes, but it wasn't as simple as I thought. They completely refused to go to their profession blocks. I decided to give the largest house on the right to the archers. The other, smaller houses will be for librarians and farmers. I'm still trading with the villagers in hopes of getting more name tags. I crafted some furnaces, crafting tables and chests. In the evening, wandering around the houses, I tried to furnish them a bit for the villagers. I broke the beds, hoping to lure the villagers with them, and you know, they don't care at all that they'll be sleeping on the floor tonight. Most likely, in this version of the game, they're not smart enough to follow beds or profession blocks on their own, so I'll use the oldest and most reliable method to move them in boats. Somehow, one of the villagers saw the new bed, but that was more of an exception than the rule. Day 92. I gather all the archers and take them to a separate house built just for them. I spent the whole day transporting the villagers, but they were too stubborn and kept returning to their old homes. However, somehow I managed to get each of them to the center of the raft. In the evening, I noticed a golem defending my house from piranhas. It looks pretty good. Too bad I didn't notice it earlier. Day 93. I harvested potatoes for the 100th time, which I will definitely dream about after this survival. During the adventures with the villagers and building the house, all the glass was smelted, and I had very little time left to build the aquarium. First, I removed part of the platform on the tree farm. I replaced the central path with glass. Then, I built a small glass arch that will soon become the tunnel under my aquarium. Day 94. The arch is fully finished. I expand the platform with half blocks to make more room for the aquarium decoration. I try to round it off on both sides so it's not so square. I also build the inner part with spruce half blocks. I go up to the observation deck to take a look around. I realize that I need to add a few more rows of blocks. In the evening, I inspect my raft from above one last time and demolish the stone pillar. I start building walls for my aquarium. A few minutes later, I rise 3 layers higher and make the second level. I planned for my aquarium to be 10 blocks high. Day 95, but suddenly I realized that I won't have enough glass, so I need to gather more. This time I went to a new location because I had already mined too close to the reef in the old one, and digging sand there was inconvenient. By night, I return home with a small amount of sand. Day 96. In the morning, I work on creating the sandy bottom, but I didn't have enough sand even for the first layer. A large school of piranhas gathered under the raft, and I had to fight them for control of the ocean. Some of the sand surfaced near the farm, and it looks pretty unusual. By night, I finished the second layer of sand in my aquarium. Day 97. By morning, the work was fitted, and now I just finish the walls to fill it with water. My survival is coming to an end, and I have very little wood left, which I can sell to the archers. By this point, I had 33 name tags, which should be enough for all my fish. I get up to the aquarium and finish the third layer of glass. I look at the structure and hope that I'm building it for a reason. Day 98. There's only the last final layer left, and the base of the aquarium will be completely built. Somehow, one of the villagers left the raft, and I had to save him urgently. Near the aquarium, I made an infinite water source and began setting up rows of redstone. I alternate them 1-1 so I can later flood the aquarium. This is faster than filling each new layer inside. I poured a small portion of water on the left side and checked how everything works. Slowly, block by block, I added water in the necessary places. Day 99. I just have to break the unnecessary blocks, and it's very quick with a pickaxe enchanted with efficiency 5. That's how I got my own aquarium where I can swim freely, but from the outside, it didn't look so nice. The water was completely murky, but this problem is easily solved by changing the shaders. Inside the tunnel, I hung some lanterns for lighting. I swam to the coral reef to gather some corals, but it turned out that only a pickaxe with silk touch could gather coral blocks. I had a little experience and managed to get one. I collected every color of coral block to decorate my aquarium. Day 100, the final day of this survival. I filled the bottom of the aquarium with bright corals, but there weren't enough, so I had to swim back for a second batch. This allowed me to greatly increase the volume of these decorations. I began using bone meal for seagrass, and it turned out that corals grow after using it. With every touch, my aquarium radically changed its appearance. I started lighting the bottom with sea cucumbers, but since there were no full water blocks, they didn't glow. Without thinking too much, I just replaced them with lanterns. This is what my aquarium looks like now, and only the last final touch remains. I take all my buckets with fish and name tags, and as I release each fish, I immediately give it a name. I honestly don't know if they will disappear without name tags or not, but it's better not to risk it. Somehow, I managed to do everything I planned. At night, I walk around and inspect the raft where I spent these 100 days. At this point, my survival is coming to an end. Starting with just a small raft and a fishing rod, I was able to turn it into this. This is the first map where I wanted to add some new mods, and in my opinion, they made this survival even more interesting. Although, to be honest, piranhas will haunt me for a very long time. If any of you would like to play on this map yourself, it's already available on my Patreon. You can download the starting survival map or my completed one after these 100 100 days of survival and explore it yourself. The folder will include all the necessary mods, the map, and shaders. In addition to this map, you will get access to all my other maps that have ever been on my channel. My name is Simon, and we will meet again soon.